The first thing Sarah noticed was the flowers. Not the crystal lights hanging over the private dining room. Not the silver name cards beside every plate. Not even the way her sister Vanessa kept lifting her hand so the diamond ring could catch the room. It was the flowers. White orchids spilled across the center of the table like snow, thick and expensive, arranged in tall glass bowls that made it hard to see the people on the other side. Sarah knew the price. $8,500. She knew because 3 weeks earlier, the charge had appeared on her credit card statement under the name of a luxury floral studio she had never visited. Across the table, Vanessa laughed like nothing in the room could touch her. "This salmon is perfect," their mother said, pressing a napkin to her mouth. "Vanessa, darling, your taste is unbelievable." Vanessa smiled. "Only the best for my wedding weekend." Sarah lowered her eyes to her plate. Only the best. The rehearsal dinner had cost $18,000. The first payment for the wedding venue had been $25,000. The dress, $12,000. The honeymoon, $18,000. Hair, makeup, gifts, invitations, video, candles, silk ribbon, imported cake stands. One by one, the charges had arrived. Quietly. Boldly. Like footsteps outside a locked door. Sarah had not called Vanessa. She had not cried. She had not screamed. She had printed every statement, saved every receipt, pulled every vendor invoice, and placed them in a neat file inside her work bag. Now that same bag rested beside her chair. Vanessa sat in the middle of the table, glowing under the warm light, while their father lifted his glass. To Vanessa, he said, "My beautiful daughter. You always knew your worth, and now you're getting the life you deserve." Glasses rose all around the table. No one looked at Sarah. Her younger brother Marcus leaned back in his chair and smirked. "Sarah, you've been quiet all night. You okay over there?" "I'm fine," Sarah said. Vanessa turned her face toward her, still smiling. "She's probably just overwhelmed. This kind of place is not really her scene." A few relatives chuckled. Their Aunt Linda tilted her head with fake concern. "You do look a little plain tonight, honey. Vanessa should take you shopping sometime." Sarah glanced down at her navy dress. Simple. Clean. Paid for with her own money. "It works," she said. Vanessa laughed softly. "That's Sarah. Everything just works. Her job works. Her apartment works. Her clothes work. No risk. No sparkle. No ambition." Their mother gave a gentle sigh, the kind that sounded sweet until it landed. "Honey, your sister is not trying to hurt you. She just wants you to live a little. You're 32. You should be enjoying life." "I enjoy my life," Sarah said. Marcus snorted. "You investigate bank paperwork. That sounds thrilling." Brett, Vanessa's fiancé, smiled from beside her. His suit looked expensive, and his watch looked newer than the house their parents still bragged about buying in the 90s. "Banking is where the money is," Brett said. "Not checking forms for the government." Sarah looked at him for 1 second longer than needed. He worked in finance. He knew enough to notice money, but not enough to question where Vanessa suddenly found almost $200,000. Or maybe he had noticed. Maybe he had chosen comfort over questions. "Something like that," Sarah said, and took a sip of water. Their father leaned toward Brett. "Tell us again about that merger you're handling." Brett straightened, proud to have an audience. He spoke about clients, accounts, offshore timing, and a bonus that would be disgustingly good if the deal closed before the quarter ended. Sarah listened. One detail made her pause. Then another. She filed both away in her mind. Around her, the family looked impressed. Their father nodded like Brett had just solved the world's problems. That's real work, Marcus said. High pressure, high reward. Vanessa tapped her glass with one finger. Exactly. Some people chase a bigger life. Others just hide behind a desk. Sarah set down her fork. The table was warm, full of gold light and soft laughter. But beneath it, something cold had moved. Vanessa was not just mocking her now. She was performing. Sarah could feel it. Her cousin Rachel lifted her phone, smiling as she recorded little pieces of the dinner for her followers. She had been doing it all night, calling it the wedding event of the season. Vanessa noticed the phone and sat taller. You know what? Vanessa said. I should say something. Brett glanced at her. Babe. No, it's funny. Vanessa's eyes found Sarah. Actually, it's perfect. The table settled. Their mother smiled. What is it, darling? Vanessa rested her hand on Brett's arm and gave a small, bright laugh. I have a confession. Sarah's fingers closed once around the edge of her napkin. Vanessa looked around the table, enjoying the silence she had created. I used Sarah's credit cards for the wedding. The room held its breath. Then their mother laughed weakly. Vanessa, don't joke like that. I'm not joking. Aunt Linda blinked. Marcus leaned forward. Vanessa's smile widened. Remember that lunch 6 months ago? Sarah went to the restroom and gave me her wallet to hold. I took pictures of every card. Front, back, security codes. Everything. Sarah did not move. Her father's smile faded. Vanessa. Oh, come on, Dad. Vanessa waved one hand. It's not like she spends her money. She just saves it and lives like a librarian. Marcus let out a low laugh. Wait. Are you serious? Completely. Vanessa picked up her phone and began scrolling. Dress, flowers, venue, dinner tonight, photographer, honeymoon. Most of it went on Sarah's cards. Brett's face changed first. Not guilt. Fear. How much? He asked quietly. Vanessa shrugged. Around 190,000. Maybe a little less. Their mother went pale. Vanessa. What? Vanessa said, still smiling. She can afford it. Sarah looked at her sister. You stole my card information. Vanessa rolled her eyes. Don't use that word. What word? Stole. It sounds ugly. It is ugly. The smile dropped from Vanessa's face for a second. Then she recovered, turning back to the table. See? This is why I didn't ask. She would have acted like this. All stiff and cold and selfish. Their mother reached for Vanessa's hand. Sarah, sweetheart, I know this is not ideal. But the wedding is tomorrow. Family helps family. Sarah turned to her. Family asks. Their father cleared his throat. Let's not make this bigger than it is. Sarah looked at him. Almost $200,000. The money is already spent, he said. Do you want to ruin your sister's wedding over this? Rachel's phone was still raised. Her eyes were wide now, but she kept recording. Vanessa saw it and leaned into the moment. "What is she going to do?" she said. "Call the police? Press charges against her own sister? Then everyone will know who really destroyed this family." Marcus laughed again, but softer this time. Sarah looked around the table. At her mother, who had already forgiven the thief because the thief was Vanessa. At her father, who had already decided peace meant Sarah swallowing the damage. At Marcus, amused until consequences touched him. At Brett, suddenly still. At Vanessa, glowing with stolen luxury. For years, they had called Sarah boring. Quiet. Small. Safe. They had turned every achievement into a dull subject and every boundary into selfishness. When she bought her apartment, her mother asked why it was not bigger. When she earned her promotion, her father changed the subject to Vanessa's new engagement. When she said she liked her life, Vanessa laughed and said, "That's because you don't have options." Sarah had learned to stop explaining. That silence had made them careless. Now Vanessa pointed at her with a manicured finger. "Go on, Sarah," she said. "Say something official. You love sounding official." Sarah reached into her bag. Her mother sighed. "Please don't be dramatic." Sarah pulled out a slim folder and placed it beside her plate. Vanessa's smile flickered. "What is that?" "Copies," Sarah said. "Copies of what?" "Statements. Vendor invoices. Timestamps. Card activity. Every charge you made." The table went quiet again, but this silence was different. Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "You knew?" Sarah opened the folder. "I knew after the first venue deposit." "Then why didn't you say anything?" "Because I wanted the full pattern." Brett sat back slowly. "Full pattern?" Sarah looked at him. Financial crimes are easier to prove when the behavior repeats. His face strained. Vanessa laughed once, sharp and false. "Financial crimes? Listen to yourself. You are making a wedding sound like a bank robbery." "No," Sarah said. "A bank robbery is usually faster." No one laughed. Vanessa's jaw tightened. "You're not going to scare me with paperwork." Sarah picked up her phone. Her father's voice hardened. "Sarah, put that down." She kept her eyes on the screen. "Sarah Elizabeth Morrison," her mother snapped. "Do not embarrass this family." Sarah's thumb moved calmly. Vanessa leaned forward. "Who are you texting?" "I'm not texting." The secure work app opened with her badge credentials at the top. Senior Special Agent Sarah Morrison. Federal Financial Crimes Division. She began entering the report. Marcus frowned. "What is that supposed to be?" "An official report." Vanessa looked at Brett, then back at Sarah. "To who? Your little bank office?" Sarah continued typing. "To my division." Their father stared at the screen. "Your division?" "I investigate financial crimes," Sarah said. "Credit card fraud. Identity theft. Bank fraud. Money laundering." The words landed one by one. Vanessa's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Brett whispered, "You told us she was a bank examiner." "She is," their mother said quickly. "Sarah, stop exaggerating." Sarah looked at her mother. "I worked as a bank examiner years ago. I told you when I moved into criminal investigations." "When?" her father asked. "Thanksgiving." 6 years ago. You told me not to talk about boring government work at dinner. Aunt Linda lowered her eyes. Rachel slowly lowered her phone. Vanessa's voice came out thin. You're lying. Sarah turned the phone so they could see the seal at the top, the badge number, the case form, the words identity theft and unauthorized credit activity. I'm not. Brett pushed back from the table. Okay. Wait. Everyone calm down. Sarah tapped the final box. Vanessa stood halfway from her chair. Don't you dare. Sarah pressed submit. The small sound from the phone was almost nothing. But Vanessa heard it like a door locking. Sarah placed the phone on the table. The report is filed. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the room broke open. Her mother grabbed her wrist. Undo it. Sarah gently pulled free. That's not how federal reports work. Her father leaned close, his voice low and angry. You will destroy your sister's life. No, Sarah said. She built this. I just stopped paying for it. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears now, fast and sudden. I was getting married tomorrow. You should have thought about tomorrow 6 months ago. It was one mistake. It was dozens of charges. I would have paid you back. Sarah looked at her. With what? Vanessa's lips trembled. Brett stood, then sat down again when Sarah glanced at him. I didn't know, he said quickly. She told me her parents were paying. Sarah looked at his custom suit, his polished watch, his careful fear. And you never asked why a family that could only give $30,000 suddenly had $200,000 for a wedding? His face turned red. That's not fair. Neither is fraud. Her phone buzzed. Everyone stopped. Sarah looked down. A message from Assistant Director James Chin appeared on the secure screen. Report received. Team is 12 minutes out. Do you need immediate backup? Sarah typed back. Situation stable. Suspects still present. Vanessa's voice shook. Team? Sarah put the phone down. Her mother looked between them. What team? Sarah folded the copies back into the folder. Federal agents are on the way. The table froze. Around them, the restaurant had gone quiet. Other diners were looking over, whispering behind wine glasses. A waiter stood near the wall holding a tray he had forgotten to set down. Vanessa gripped the edge of the table. You called federal agents on me? You confessed to federal crimes in front of witnesses. I'm your sister. That did not stop you. Her father stood. We're leaving. I wouldn't, Sarah said. He stopped. If anyone walks out now, it may look like flight. I can't advise you legally, but I can tell you it won't help. Brett sat back down first. Then Marcus. Then Vanessa, slowly, as if the chair had disappeared beneath her. Rachel held her phone in both hands now, staring at the screen like it had turned into evidence. A manager approached with a tight smile. Excuse me, is everything all right here? Sarah opened her jacket just enough to show her badge. His smile vanished. This area may become part of a federal investigation, Sarah said quietly. Please preserve your security footage from tonight. The manager nodded so fast his voice failed him. Then he backed away and spoke into his radio. Her mother began crying then, but even her tears had blame in them. Sarah, please, she whispered. Don't do this to us. Sarah looked at the woman who had taught her to shrink so Vanessa could shine. I didn't do this to us. The front doors of the restaurant were still closed, but beyond the glass, headlights moved along the street. Sarah's phone buzzed one more time. 2 minutes out. Vanessa saw the message before Sarah turned the screen down. For the first time all night, her sister stopped crying. Her face went white, her diamond ring flashing under the chandelier as her hands began to shake. And in that perfect, expensive room paid for with stolen money, the whole family finally understood that Sarah Morrison had never been the weak one. The restaurant doors opened without noise. At first, no one moved. Vanessa sat frozen under the chandelier, one hand pressed against her mouth, the other still curled around the edge of the table. Her ring glittered every time her fingers trembled. 3 men and 2 women walked in with the calm of people who did not need to raise their voices to change a room. Assistant Director James Chin came first. He was not wearing a windbreaker or trying to look dramatic. Just a dark suit, a plain tie, and a face that made panic feel useless. 2 FBI agents followed him. Behind them were 2 Secret Service financial crimes agents. The private dining room became so quiet that Sarah could hear ice shifting in someone's glass. Chin stopped beside her chair. Agent Morrison. Sarah stood. Sir. His eyes moved over the table, then settled on Vanessa. Is this the suspect? Sarah did not look at her sister when she answered. Yes. Vanessa Morrison. She admitted to taking my credit card information without permission and using it for wedding expenses totaling approximately $190,000. Vanessa made a small sound. Not a word. More like air leaving a broken place. Chin turned toward her. Ms. Morrison, I'm Assistant Director Chin with the Federal Financial Crimes Division. These agents are here because of the amount involved and the nature of the offense. We need to ask you some questions. Vanessa's mother rose so fast her chair scraped the floor. This is a family matter, she said, trying to sound like a woman who still had control. There has been a misunderstanding. One of the FBI agents looked at her. Ma'am, a misunderstanding is a wrong date on a check. This is alleged identity theft and credit card fraud. She's never been in trouble before, her mother said. That may matter later, Chin replied. It does not erase tonight. Her father stepped in, voice low and tight. What if we pay it back? Sarah saw the old habit in him. Fix the image. Quiet the damage. Protect Vanessa. Pressure Sarah. The Secret Service agent opened a small notebook. Restitution can be addressed through the court. It does not make the crime disappear. Vanessa finally found her voice. I want a lawyer. Chin nodded. That is your right. Brett stood halfway from his chair. I want one too. The room shifted toward him. Sarah looked at him for only a second, but that was enough. His face was no longer smug. It was pale with calculation. The Secret Service agent turned. Were you aware of the charges? No, Brett said quickly. I thought her parents were paying. She told me that. I had no idea. Vanessa looked at him like he had slapped her. Brett. He did not look back. Don't say my name. You were going to marry me tomorrow. I was going to marry someone who didn't steal $200,000. Her mother gasped. Brett, please. This is not the time. He pulled his phone from his pocket. This is exactly the time. Vanessa's tears began again, but now they were not pretty. Her mascara had marked her cheeks. Her mouth shook. The woman who had held the table like a queen now looked smaller than the napkin twisted in her hand. Rachel stood near the wall, gripping her phone. The FBI agent approached her. "Were you recording?" Rachel swallowed. "I was just filming dinner." "We'll need that device as evidence." "My account." "Your phone," he said, not unkindly, "may contain a recorded confession." Rachel handed it over with both hands. The manager returned and quietly guided nearby guests out of the room. Waiters cleared paths. Conversations died. A violinist in the corner stopped playing after one wrong note. For the next hour, the beautiful rehearsal dinner became something else. Agents separated Vanessa and Brett. They took statements from relatives who had laughed only minutes earlier. They asked the manager for security footage. They photographed the table, the folder, the invoices, the credit card records Sarah had brought. Sarah answered only what she was asked. She did not look triumphant. She did not smile. Her mother kept staring at her as if waiting for a softer daughter to appear. At one point, she crossed the room and grabbed Sarah's arm. "Please," she whispered. "You can still tell them you overreacted." Sarah looked down at her mother's fingers and then back at her face. "I reported a crime. She is your sister. She knew that when she stole from me." Her mother's face hardened. "You sound proud." "No," Sarah said. "I sound finished." Across the room, Vanessa was speaking to an FBI agent through sobs. Sarah could hear pieces of it. "I didn't think she would care this much. I thought she had money. It was supposed to be my day." Not once did she say she was sorry for stealing. Only sorry that someone had stopped her. Brett sat at the bar, repeating the same sentence into his phone. "I had no knowledge of illegal activity." Again and again. His expensive confidence had collapsed into a legal defense. Just before midnight, Chin returned to Sarah. "We have enough to proceed," he said quietly. "Ms. Morrison will be taken into custody tonight." Her mother heard him and made a broken sound. "No. The wedding is tomorrow." Chin's expression did not change. "The wedding is no longer the main issue." Vanessa was brought out from the private room with an agent on either side of her. Her hands were not cuffed yet, but she held them close, like she already felt the metal. Her eyes found Sarah. For a moment, all the years sat between them. The childhood birthdays where Vanessa blew out Sarah's candles because she wanted to. The school awards their parents forgot because Vanessa had a dance recital. The graduation dinner where Vanessa announced her engagement and everyone stopped congratulating Sarah. The apartment Sarah bought alone, called small by people who owned debt and called it success. Vanessa looked at her with wet, furious eyes. "Tell them to stop." Sarah said nothing. "Tell them," Vanessa said. "You got what you wanted." Sarah stepped closer, enough for only Vanessa to hear. "I wanted you to stop." The agent took Vanessa's wrists. The click of the handcuffs was soft. Still, everyone heard it. Her mother covered her mouth. Her father turned away. Marcus stared at the floor. Aunt Linda cried into a napkin, though she had laughed at Sarah's dress less than 2 hours before. Vanessa was read her rights under golden light and dying flowers. When they led her toward the door, she twisted back. "I hate you," she said. Sarah met her eyes. "You're allowed." That was the last thing she said to her sister that night. The wedding did not happen. By morning, the ballroom had already begun to empty. Florists removed arrangements that had never seen a bride walk past them. The cake was placed back into a delivery truck. The venue kept the deposit. The honeymoon company refused a full refund. Money Vanessa had stolen became money Vanessa now owed. The family called Sarah all weekend. Her mother left voicemails, each one heavier than the last. First came begging. Then crying. Then blame. By Sunday night, her voice was cold. "You have always been jealous of her," she said in one message. You could not stand seeing Vanessa happy. Sarah saved the voicemail and placed her phone face down. Her apartment was quiet. The same apartment they had mocked. Hardwood floors. A small balcony. A tidy office with case files locked in a cabinet. No chandelier. No imported linen. No stolen money. Everything inside it was hers. On Tuesday, Vanessa appeared in court on a video screen wearing an orange jumpsuit. The sight stole something from the room. Her mother began crying before the hearing started. Her father sat straight, jaw locked, refusing to look at Sarah. Brett did not come. His attorney did. The prosecutor listed the charges. Multiple counts of credit card fraud. Identity theft. Wire fraud. Unauthorized use of financial instruments. The words sounded dry, almost cold. But each one had a price. Each one pointed back to a choice Vanessa had made when no one was watching. Her court-appointed attorney asked for low bail. She has no criminal history, he said. Strong family ties. A wedding planned. No reason to flee. The prosecutor stood. She had 6 months to stop. She did not. She copied the victim's card information, used it repeatedly, concealed the activity, and only showed remorse after federal agents arrived. The judge looked at Vanessa through the screen. Bond is set at $750,000. Her mother nearly collapsed. Her father whispered, "We don't have that." Sarah heard him. So did Vanessa. For the first time, Vanessa seemed to understand that beauty could not open that door. Tears could not open it. Family pressure could not open it. The screen went black. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Microphones moved toward Sarah. Agent Morrison, do you regret reporting your sister? Sarah kept walking. Do you think family crimes should be handled privately? She stopped at the edge of the steps. For years, privacy had been the cover they used to keep her quiet. Private insults. Private pressure. Private blame. Private theft. She turned slightly. A crime does not become love because a relative commits it, she said. Then she left. That sentence traveled farther than she expected. But Sarah did not chase it. She returned to work. She handled cases. She reviewed wire transfers, frozen accounts, shell companies, false identities. She did the job her family had once called boring. 3 weeks later, Vanessa accepted a plea deal. 8 years in federal prison. 5 years of supervised release. Full restitution of every fraudulent charge. A permanent record. Brett ended the engagement and sent back nothing except a formal letter from his attorney saying he denied knowledge of the fraud. Their parents took out a second mortgage, desperate to repay Sarah before sentencing, hoping the judge would see it as proof of family repair. The judge did not. At the sentencing hearing, their mother spoke first. She wore black and held a tissue in one hand. My daughter is a good person, she said, voice shaking. She made one mistake. The judge listened without interrupting. Their father stood next. Vanessa has always been full of life, he said. She wanted a beautiful wedding. She got carried away. Sarah sat behind the prosecutor, hands folded in her lap. Vanessa looked thinner now. Her hair was tied back. No jewelry. No glow. No table full of people laughing for her. When it was time for the judge to speak, the room seemed to tighten. This was not one mistake, the judge said. This was a pattern. It required planning, concealment, and repeated decisions to use another person's identity for personal luxury. The defendant believed family connection would protect her from accountability. It will not. Vanessa began to cry before the sentence was finished. 8 years. The words landed harder than any insult ever had. Her mother sobbed. Her father stared at Sarah with open hatred. Marcus would not meet her eyes. Vanessa turned as they led her away. This time, she did not say she hated Sarah. She only looked confused, as if the world had broken a promise it never made. Sarah watched until the door closed. Then she stood and walked out. No speech. No victory smile. No final glance at the family that had chosen Vanessa's image over Sarah's pain. In the courthouse hallway, her mother caught up to her. "You are not my daughter anymore," she said. Sarah stopped. For a second, the words found the old wound. The little girl waiting to be chosen. The teenager sitting quietly while Vanessa's stories filled the room. The grown woman buying gifts, lending money, showing up, staying polite, hoping one day they would see her clearly. Then Sarah looked at her mother's face and realized something simple. They had never lost a daughter. They had only lost access. "To me?" Sarah said softly. "Or to my money?" Her mother's mouth opened, but no answer came. Sarah walked away. 6 months later, her name was called in a conference room full of agents. Supervisory Special Agent Sarah Morrison. There was no chandelier. No white orchids. No relatives pretending pride they had not earned. Just a small badge case, quiet applause, and people who knew what her work had cost. Chin shook her hand. "Integrity is easy when nothing is at stake," he said. Agent Morrison showed it when everything was. Sarah accepted the promotion with a steady smile. That night, she returned home and placed the new badge beside the old one on her desk. Her phone was quiet now. No family group chat. No wedding photos. No holiday invitations. Her parents had written her out of the will. Some cousins blocked her. Aunt Linda turned away from her once in a grocery store, suddenly fascinated by a shelf of soup cans. It hurt less than Sarah expected. Maybe because silence from people who only loved your usefulness is not the same as loss. Vanessa was serving her sentence. Sarah hoped prison gave her time to become honest, but she no longer carried that hope like a duty. Brett had moved on before the ink dried. Marcus stopped joking about government work after one of his friends asked if Sarah could help with a fraud complaint. Sarah did not become cruel. She did not celebrate Vanessa's fall. She simply stopped apologizing for refusing to be used. On the first anniversary of the ruined wedding, a plain envelope arrived at Sarah's apartment. No return address. Inside was a copy of an old family photo. Sarah was 12 in it, standing at the edge while Vanessa sat in the center with a birthday crown on her head. Someone had crossed Sarah's face out with black marker. Sarah looked at it for a long moment. Then she opened a drawer and took out another photo. Her promotion ceremony. Chin beside her. Her team around her. People smiling because they were proud, not because she paid for the room. She placed that photo in a frame and set it on her desk. The old one went into the shredder. The machine pulled it in slowly. Strip by strip, the past disappeared. Sarah stood by the window afterward, watching the city lights blink on in the dark. For most of her life, she had believed family meant enduring whatever they handed her. Mockery. Pressure. Small cuts. Big theft. She had believed being good meant staying quiet so no one else felt uncomfortable. But love without respect is only control wearing a softer face. And family without accountability is just a place where the strongest excuse the cruelest. Vanessa thought Sarah's silence meant weakness. Her parents thought Sarah's kindness meant permission. Everyone at that dinner thought she would protect the family name before protecting herself. They never knew that quiet people keep records. They never knew that patience can become evidence. They never knew that the daughter they called boring had built a life strong enough to survive losing them. Sarah did not get her old family back. She got something better. Her name. Her peace. And the truth, finally standing in the light.